This is the talk of Music City Real Estate.
Welcome back to another episode of the Talk of Music City Real Estate,
where we educate and motivate all things real estate.
My name is Monte Moore with Realty One Group Music City.
Hey, and I'm Carey Ann with CMG Financial and my mortgage team.
Every week we'll be posting a new episode chock full of Nashville real estate value.
Yes, and you can follow along and subscribe at talkmusiccity.com.
Got a question for us? Ask away at questions@talkmusiccity.com.
Monty.
Carey Ann, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood in real estate, isn't it?
Always and forever.
You know, it truly is. When you've been in the business as long as I have, when you see the bumps in the road, and you know that a lot of folks that were just kind of thinking about, well, I've always liked watching HGTV, and I always liked, liked looking at stores and imagining, furniture and stuff like that. You know that there's a good chance that a lot of those folks aren't going to make it, and I don't wish ill on anybody, but it is not for the weak of heart. It's not, and neither is your business, I'm sure.
No, it's difficult for sure. I mean, it's hard because we're doing all the right moves. The apps are coming in, and it's just being able to find the houses, right, and keeping the inventory to place. I do think now there's allowing the client more time to look and make a decision. Clients are now looking at properties once, twice, maybe sometimes 3 times before they're putting an offer in, and they are possibly deciding that, this is not, the living room is not as perfect. Maybe there's something else, out there, and they, where before they'll just take it the way it was, right? Just jump in full speed.
Well, before, the fear of loss, it still comes down to fear of loss, believe it or not. The fear of loss last year was, oh man, if I don't go 25,000 over, if I don't jump immediately, I'm not going to get, if I don't waive the inspection, if I don't waive the repairs, I'm not going to get an opportunity. Now, the same fear of loss, the power of that fear of loss is now, well, if I make a decision today on a house, there might be something else come up tomorrow that it will be a better one. I never forget the last downturn in the market or hesitation. I wrote I wrote 4 different agreed contracts for this couple, and every time that's what would happen. A new batch of homes would hit the market the next day or next week.
Oh, shinier objects.
Yeah, and I never forget that one of the deals that we walked away from was because there was an undisclosed crack in the driveway. And oh my God, what else have they not shared with on their disclosure, because they didn't mention that crack which we walked over when we walked into the house, but they didn't.
Well, it was probably not there when the disclosure was typed.
Well,
I think about it.
Probably was, but of course the homes were sitting on the market for a while back then.
I just think of even my driveway. I'm seeing cracks that weren't there, depending on the weather temperature and things. But
the point is, that was how petty the reasons became, and that's why I was so excited last time we got together with Wes at Punch List, because that's probably as we know, the inspection process is part of probably the number one thing. Once somebody's qualified, that's probably the number one item that becomes a deal killer, either intentionally or unintentionally. But if you can control the unintentional times that a deal dies because you've been proactive with somebody like Punch List, I just still got to give them another shout out. I'm just so happy that they will do the repairs. First of all, they'll give you a 24-hour estimate. They will match or beat any other vendor in those arenas that are legitimate. They will allow you to pay at closing. That's a really, really, really big deal. I was, as you know, on our huddle call this week, I was, shouting out again because I'm just still amazed. And the reason for that is, you can imagine, if a guy has sold over 3,000 homes like I have, you've been in hundreds of thousands of homes.
Sure, yeah.
You've written hundreds of thousands of offers. And you've dealt with this, carrying somebody around week after month after, month. And now to have a company that would come in and take care of those things, that one little box that wasn't marked, that house marked everything else, but they could come in and take care of that one box, whatever. My point is, they'll come in and make that house what they're looking for. So
yeah. And they also, with the real estate agents listening, we want to look for value adds everywhere we go, right? Every step we go.
It brings our authority. It brings our value to the consumer.
Yeah. And so even if, you aren't doing that, repair for a listing, you might provide that punch list vendor, as a value add to your whole database. I mean, you were amazing when rates shifted a long time ago. You did a blast out to your entire database about this program or that program. And that right there just sets you apart. That right there turns the head when somebody is looking for a strong real estate agent. They're going to look at the person that provided the most value, right? And so that's a huge win.
I remember that's when one time we sent out, hey, you should refi with Carey Ann.
Yeah.
It's just always looking for reasons why you're the go-to person. But
right, because naturally the business will just come your way, even by, you think, oh, you're steering business away from selling to refi. But if they really want their home, or if they really want to sell, if they won't refi, they will sell their home, or vice versa.
Yeah, it's about the law of reciprocity. You can't outgive. So if you're giving and you're providing information, you're top of mind, and you're that person, that go-to person. That's what every realtor should strive to be, is that go-to person. If you're that go-to person, you're also going to be a top producer, believe it or not, because that go-to person is providing so much value that law of reciprocity kicks in, and everybody that knows somebody who's buying or selling real estate this year. And if you're continuing giving those people and staying top of mind, guess who is your greatest resource? It's those people that now feel like they've got to give back to you because you've been given to them.
Yeah. And, there's many people that are probably listening today that may have not sold something in a bit, right? I'm talking to a lot of real estate agents that were very successful and will still be successful. This is just the time of kind of getting our groove on and kind of figuring out the normalcy of today's market. But a lot of the folks that possibly are kind of settled in and just going, oh, what's going to happen tomorrow, may not have done the extra steps needed, right? They just kind of did what they thought they just were going to do and never pushed themselves to that next level, made that one extra call, one extra email, went to that one extra networking event, right? And so now you're sitting there saying, why me? What's happened?
Right.
And I see that in the origination world too. Many people were closing so many loans and then maybe now they're not, right? And possibly they got comfortable in their placement, right? Got comfortable with all of this opportunity coming our way, or a lot easier, right? Now you've been in the business many years, I as well, not as many as you, my wise friend. But we are
longer than you've been on the planet, I think.
I love it.
Just for the record.
Yes, you're keeping me young over here. It's so good. But we had to do all the things, right? Dirt under our so-called fingernails was something that we had to do. And so now being able to get back out and do that so-called manual labor is what's keeping us all afloat. But I know you are a big believer in reading and getting knowledge always from great folks out there. And I know we have somebody we want to talk about today.
Yeah, we do. On that topic, I don't know what you're a subscriber to Audible, aren't you?
I like to, yes. Well,
you like to listen to books.
I like to read them actually, but I like to listen too.
Okay. Well, I have you can see right here, how many titles do I have?
Oh, you got a lot.
121 titles in my Audible account. And I'm a voracious learner. At this point in my life, it's amazing. I didn't read a book until I was probably 30 years old after high school, and I'm just so grateful that we have this kind of available information, and that we can, instead of using, I call radio mental chewing gum, instead of doing that while you're in the car as a realtor, if you can dial into some of the greatest, because for $10 you can tap into somebody's best. Yeah. Think about that for a second. Somebody's best. What if a mortgage person could tap into Carey Ann Sears' best? What if you wrote a book and then put it on he's putting
that out there in the universe. What if I wrote a book? I should write a book.
Well, that's why I'm just planting that seed, because I'll buy the first one, but because I know that everybody would learn a lot, because again, you're getting it's the condensation of somebody's their heart, their nuggets, what they leaned into, what they learned, in the process, and all those, and their hardships. That's anyhow. There's so much. Yeah. There's so much value in taking. I can list it one after another. I've got a wide variety, everything from greenhouse gardening, beginner's guide for raising chickens.
We're raising chickens.
Yes. I take a wide range. Most of it's business related. I don't have time for fictional. I'm sorry. I don't understand that. I want to learn. I just want to learn. But anyway, because my conviction is this, guys. Your value on this planet is not dependent upon you hoping and wishing as a realtor. Your value is hinged on, your authority. Okay. That prosperity is hinged on your value as a professional. So anyways, we're going to talk about some really cool nuggets here today.
But to kind of go with that, I do like to zone out. I'm the first to want to zone out and watch my Netflix, whatever, but they may be a reader who wants to, read Fabio. Totally fine. If that's their, if that's their groove, we do you for you is what I say. But I do think the successful people that are out there, the yous, the me's, there's other people that I look up to in our real estate world, you will find that they are reading, listening, going back to books, right? Podcasts that we've already listened to. Mm-hmm. We already know the steps, but to be reminded of those things really restarts us, reignites us, reminds us that tomorrow is going to be brighter. The market will shift. What goes up will come down. The market will continue. I kind of giggled the other day on an event I was at. I was like, see this right here? That's a shoulder pad. Yeah. Do you see these bangles? That's 80s is coming back. The whole thing is going to rotate. What I'm saying is, what busy was yesterday is low today. We'll be back to being busy. We just have to kind of go with the cyclical motions of this industry. And the greats will continue to soar, right? Be the tortoise, not the hare. So let's talk about it.
Back to what you just said about
the Fabio or the shoulder pads.
The Fabio. And no offense to anybody who wants to watch Fabio at all, but here's what happens. Okay, I'm just going to give you a sneak preview here. Here's what happens when you hit the big 7-0. Okay, that's how old I am. I'm 7-0. And when you get something happened to me when I hit, I think 50, because I realized maybe it was 60. When I hit 60, because all my life I said, I don't want to be working when I'm 60 if I don't want to be working.
Right.
So life happens, of course, and we have the Great Depression back in 2008 and so forth. So then I bumped that up to say, I don't want to be working when I'm 70 if I don't want to be working. Well, here, guess what? I'm 70 and I'm working as harder than I've ever worked. I will admit, I've raised that to 80 now, okay? I don't want to be working when I'm 80. Because I'll probably be in the way at 80, but I'm going to stay young. But my point is, something does happen when you get in the second half of life where you do become a little more urgent, I think, and recognize, wow, what happened? I mean, my daughter was saying, I'm going to lay here with my eyes closed and sleep with my eyes closed until daddy gets home, because I worked second shift at a factory back then, I mean, all of a sudden, bam, now my kids have got kids, and now one of my kids has kids, and I'm a great grandfather. Are you kidding me? So my point is, everybody knows this, time goes by quickly, but the older you get, the quicker it goes. So redeem the time, I guess, is the moral of that story.
Yeah. Okay? And really, we just have to kind of get regrouped, and use some of the wisdom and the nuggets from before. I mean, we're using some of the tools from like old school tools, right? We used to use back in the day. Some people didn't even know what we were talking about,
Zig Ziglar, help enough people get what they want, and guess what? You're going to get what you want in life.
I kind of giggle. When I first moved here, it was a CD case, where you buy the sales training. It was Dave Tracy. I'm saying his name.
Brian Tracy?
Brian Tracy, yeah. And it came in the packets of all the CDs, all the things. Kidding? And I would put it in.
I still have big tubs of those things. My wife says, why are you keeping those? You have nothing to play. I know, but it would be sacrilegious to throw that stuff away. There's so much wisdom in there.
It's so true. But if you really think of what we learned back then, right, we're listening to more of a modern version of it. It's really the same old same.
It's the same information.
It's the same old same. And
most of it's come out of Think and Grow Rich with Napoleon Hill. Find your definite purpose in life. I could go on and on about him. Most of our team knows that I've been really delving into that. And one of these days, I want to bring my Success Bible in here, and I'm going to tell the story, but I'm going to talk about what this man spent 20 years in creation, 20 years of his life going through the same battles that we deal with. I mean, we think for a second that, here he is, he's commissioned by the wealthiest man in the world to go out and interview wealthy people. And we think that, wow, that's just going to be a beautiful thing and he's not going to have any challenges. And they don't realize that he didn't have money to get back home that first meeting, let alone all the other stuff. And he was challenged like we are. When you make a declaration to the universe, it seems like sometimes the universe pushes back. I mean, when you decided to be number one, was it just, here I go, be number? Did you have to fight for it? You had to overcome. You had to, press through disappointment, so forth. And this man's first child Napoleon Hill wrote the most successful book on the planet. His first child was born without ears. Anyhow, I mean, I could go on and on about this guy. Wow. I have such respect for him. But one of his descendants is a man by the name of Jim Rohn. Jim Rohn was one of the wisest men that I know of as well. He's no longer with us. He passed away a few years ago, but see, here's 7 really cool nuggets from Jim Rohn that I think we could all learn from real quickly here. First one is, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day.
So true, right? And make it simple. I think sometimes we make it so complicated. Pick I've leveled it up. I want to do 5 money-making activities a day before the end of the day. Now, again, the day gets away from me, so I need it. My end of my day has to be at 4, knowing that I really needed to end at 6, to take care of my little one.
But you start your day about 4 too, don't you?
Yeah, it starts early. It's so funny. I'm talking to people and I'm curling my hair. It's 11 o'clock, right? It's like, I just can't get to even my personal life, back on track because you're doing all the things. But success, a few disciplines practiced every day, those are going to be looked a little different for each person, I think.
Well, one of them could be, when Connie and I got the book, Miracle Morning for Realtors.
Love that one.
I was listening to, what's his name?
Hal Elrod
yesterday. And you think about, that not only did he get killed at 21 years old, pronounced dead for 6 minutes, then a few years later, they diagnosed him with this incurable cancer, and he only has like 10% chance of living. Now, there's a guy that I want to listen to. There's a guy but he's learned to do those simple things every day. And my point of bringing him up is, one of those simple things to do every day is maybe, as an example, is to pick up his book, The Miracle Morning for Realtors, and do those lifesavers, those sabers, SAVERS, sabers. Start it with silent. A is for affirmations, V is for visualization, E for exercise, R for reading, and S for scribing or writing. Okay, those simple things to start a day that way, and then, like you said, set a goal that every day I'm going to touch 5 people. Or 5 people through email. Text. 5 people through email, 5 people through a phone call. If you do that every day, those simple things can make all the difference in the world.
So Jim talks about daily disciplines such as time blocking your schedule to make your prospecting calls, prioritizing your daily follow-up with past clients, generating leads, and growing your database is a need, right? And so when you focus on your daily disciplines, success will follow. So time blocking is another, discipline that you can do.
And all those things are leading indicators. They're not trailing indicators. And people look at the trailing part. The trailing part is closings, but you got to do the leading indicators, those leading things that roll into the results.
I will say too, for years I focused business. I would get up and start working business until I met that gentleman as well, Hal, and really started to dig into that morning routine. And when I started focusing back on the strength of me, mental strength, physical strength, all the things, then you become even stronger to be able to get through the difficult times, to kind of continue to soar, and you'll just naturally see everything kind of move in a forward direction. So one of your disciplines could be that you do the same routine, every
one of those
morning
simple
from your own
things.
stuff.
You can't pour out more than you have in, and that's the whole point
or you're
of that.
Going to burn out, right? And then you're just going to, shut down earlier in life, not make it all the way to working as long as you worked.
Number 2 is. It is the set of the sails, not the direction of the wind, that determines which way we will go. That is so true. That is so true. That reminds me of this lady who taught me how to pivot. And what is a sail doing when it changes directions? It's pivoting. What's it pivoting with? It's pivoting with the new need of the day to go that way instead of that way. So you have to move the sail. You have to pivot that sail. So it's really, really important to remember that it's not the set of the sails.
Yeah,
it's the direction of anyway.
Yeah, and I think somebody taught me too. You need 3 legs to hold up a table, right? And so being diverse, it does allow you naturally to pivot when one's not working. You just naturally move to the next. Being an originator, they naturally say, I want to work with real estate agents, right. And I remind them, that there's other ways of getting business, and there's other ways of getting business for you and I, from the real estate standpoint too. So
number 3, formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. Wow.
So true.
Is that ever true?
I failed the formal part.
Yeah, me too. I have a high school education.
I think I passed by 1 point, so I'll give myself some credit.
I admit I'm not the sharpest rock in the pile, but I was fortunate enough to find an occupation that if I just love people and serve them and honor them through one of the most important experiences of their life, guess what? The compensation will happen as well.
Yeah.
And you're getting to do that same thing.
Yeah, and some of the folks that are very successful in the real estate world make more than the individuals that have gone to college for 10 plus years, got
Absolutely.
their doctorate and all the things. You know, I think if you do the daily discipline and or weekly, I do it weekly. I know that I want at least so many hours of infusing my mindset, my mind. So my mindset is correct, with something of goodness. You know, sometimes I need to remind myself of the story of the girl that struggled, right? The It Cosmetics girl. I read that book a lot. Believe It is huge. Mm-hmm. The girl that created Hint Water, huge. Sometimes I want to see other fierce and fabulous females and remind them,
fabulous females.
Yeah, that remind them of their story. That helps me, that fuels me to keep going when times get tough. And you may find your story out there, which it may be the gentleman that you speak of with the book
Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, Napoleon Hill. And you're going to find that's going to fuel you to keep going, right? And so I think that self-education will truly make you a fortune.
In today's world, I think it's so critical. Mm-hmm. Number 4 is you cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction overnight. Wow. I love that, mm-hmm. because that can be as simple as internalizing a great book on a topic that feeds your spirit, your soul, I love that.
Yeah, we talked about too, if you think what you do today is going to fix literally tomorrow, 24 hours, no, right? What we are planning and doing and prepping for is going to show all of our successes, 60, 90 days from now. This is the time to plan for 6 months from now, right?
Yeah,
I mean, if
really
you want to soar big, no one says that you can't make 2023 still your best year ever in this business, even if you haven't started off majorly successful. 2020 taught us that, right?
It absolutely did. Absolutely.
So you can do that.
Number 5, you don't get paid for the hour. I love this. You get paid for the value you bring to that hour. My goodness, is that ever true? Mm-hmm. How much value are you bringing to that hour? Are you connecting with people? Are you being their resource? Are you building a top of mind reputation for all those people who know, love, and trust you? That's what you get paid for, is the value you bring to the hour. And that's so often based on your authority. And how are you building your authority? Are you embracing every opportunity to learn? Are you connecting to every chance that you can to meet and maybe go to lunch with top producing people who just one nugget can make such a difference in your life? I never forget listening to something when I didn't have time, but I wanted to finish this. It was a top agent sharing, and right before he got to the end of his sharing, he said, I want to share something with you that made a difference in my life. Uh-huh. And it was just a 2-minute little deal. He said, when I'm at a listing appointment and the people look at each other and say, let's say this couple looks at each other and says, well, we want to pray about it, or we want to, sleep on it, or all that. Expect that. And then say, well, that's great. I'll be right back. I've got something in the car for you. Make sure you have something in the car for them that you can go out and get. So you get back in, and then you revisit, maybe retry to say, are you guys, what are there any other objections or any other questions I can answer, rather? And at that moment in time, 9 out of 10 times, if they're going to go with you, that's when that'll happen, because they just wanted to get face to face on their own without you in the room.
Right. So
and
true.
by you going out in the car for something. But my point is, that's just an example of a little nugget that can make all the difference. What's your average commission worth? Ours in our office is around $10,000 to $12,000 is the average commission based on a 2.5% number. And so think about that anyhow.
Yeah, I love what he says here. Are you focused or just going through the motions? Sometimes we are so busy being busy, right? Mm-hmm. Like we're doing all the things, but are we being very strategic and intentional with our time? Right, if you're going to go and drive 2.5 hours, you're definitely an hour, 20 minutes, whatever it is.
Which is so easy around Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, exactly. And you definitely do not go there without making sure that you're leaving a mark, you're closing the deal, something. make it worth your while for sure. So
number 6, whoever renders service to many puts himself in line for greatness. Carey Ann, you walk this out on a daily basis. I can't imagine how many people you serve because you have done such a great job becoming top of mind, putting yourself at top of mind as a mortgage professional for how many hundreds or thousands of people here in Middle Tennessee. I think you exemplify this particular point. Whoever renders service to many puts herself in line for greatness.
Yeah, and sometimes we're not serving them for mortgage financing needs. You're just offering, an ear. You're offering a connection. People reach out all the time and say, who do you know that's best in blank, right? Mm-hmm. And you make the connection, and then you're known. And it's so great because now they're reaching out to you on a regular basis for all of their needs. And then you remind them, oh, don't you forget that I'm your girl when you need mortgage financing, right? Well, type of thing.
Not only that, but one of the first times that you really got my attention as a professional that I want to dedicate my clients to every time I can was when I brought you a client that you really couldn't serve, and you helped them find the right resource for their particular situation, and showed that you were truly coming from a place of abundance, of generosity, of giving, of contribution, and not one of survival. Well, it doesn't benefit me, so no, I can't help you attitude.
Yeah, I think one thing that's really close to my heart is never just referring out a phone number. I really try to, if I can know that loan can get done at Bank A or Bank B with my personal banker because it needs a commercial loan, or it needs, just a unique type of more of a handshake loan type of thing, I'll facilitate all of that from start to finish without making a dollar, because it's not about me making the dollar. It's about you getting that closing that allows you the opportunity to continue to grow in your real estate career, which should just naturally allow me to grow because you're going to send more clients, eventually my way.
Well, you have to. Again, that law of reciprocity kicks in. And our 7th and final point that Jim Rohn shared is things that I felt absolutely sure of a few years ago. I do not believe now. And boy, is that there's never been a time that's been more true than right now.
Well, I'm so glad that cash is no longer king.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a thing that we had to struggle through. Just a reminder, what got us here won't get us there. We have to always be thinking different. We always have to be acting, moving, doing all the things, that are different, that turn heads, in a way that really allows you to stand out and be bright. And if you are that person that has not maybe had one closing, 2 closings, you're doing all the actions and you're just not seeing yet the results, that does not mean you're not good at what you do, right? No, just continue to move in a forward direction.
Time. It's a weird market. It's a weird time. Just keep on loving people, keep on serving people, keep on working from a place of contribution. Keep knowing that every relationship was like a seed been planted. Love on that seed, water that seed, nurture that seed, continue to be there for them. And pretty soon, I've seen this happen so many times. I'll never forget. It was right at the tail end of our worst market. And I was so frustrated and I was so broke and I was about to lose my own home. And I kept on doing the same things. I kept on doing the right things. My assistant, I'll never forget this. My assistant was sitting in the office with me, and I got up on a rant, and I started walking back and forth, and I said, damn it, it's a law. It has to happen. It has no choice. The law of reciprocity is real. It's real like gravity, damn it. And I'm giving to the marketplace. I've been giving to the marketplace, and I just got mad. I got angry, and I said, it has to happen. Success is mine. It has to happen. Sometimes I think we have to get that convinced that we're willing to yell at the universe or whatever, Anyway, so it was 5 months later that I had my first $100,000 month. 5 months later, from that point of desperation, that I got mad and said, enough is enough. Sure. I'm going to succeed at this thing no matter how. I was about to lose my own home. I had just had back surgery. I could barely walk. My dog died in my arms. My best friend, a 16-year-old boxer, died in my arms. I got not one, but a double audit from IRS. Things were not looking good.
Goodness.
And I was marching back and forth in my office saying, damn it, success is mine. It's mine.
Yeah. And it will be if you want it, and if you want it bad enough. If you think you're just going to pray it to be, or just hope it to come, all the things, that's not going to be the case. But again, those that are out there getting dirt under their fingernails, staying true, and staying consistent, success is definitely right around the corner for each of us. So
it's yours.
I love that.
Keep on marking through.
I love that. This was great.
Thank you, Carey Ann. It's always a pleasure.
Always good to see you. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We welcome you back. You've been listening to The Talk of Music City Real Estate.